Hello, everybody, and I hope everything's great and good. Welcome back to the castle. I am Sir Ivory Knight, and I'm here with Niners Sh0ppo. We're here to talk to you guys about DevDiary 27 now on Army recruitment and supply. Now, this is a kind of a bit of a unique DevDiary because the actual dev talk hasn't happened yet. So this is the first time that we're actually going to discuss about the dev diary before the devs actually kind of do it themselves on live. Do you have anything else to add there, Sh0ppo?
Just a good evening to everybody. Welcome back to the castle. No, but I'm excited because I think we're gonna come up with quite some questions for the stream. So let's see how it goes, right?
Yeah. At least the messages on the forum, even before the dev talk, are quite large
Yeah,
this time.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm sure the devs are gonna. They might even make edits before the dev talk because it's so far in advance. So by the time the dev talk actually happens for this particular subject, they might already change what they'll do for the game. Possibly.
Could be, yeah.
Yeah. But
Okay,
yeah, give us the
yeah.
summary.
I can give you a brief summary like we always do. Nothing new here. So this time the diary was about army recruitment and supply, and we learned a couple of things. There is some adjustments the devs made, but we know most of it from the first game or maybe even from prior dev diaries. So one thing that is entirely new though is the levies,
Yep.
which is kind of a kingdom-wide number that you have, and you need it to train an army and arm new soldiers. And you also need levies um, for army equipment, fortification, improvements, and other stuff, upgrades, whatever. Then there is, they talked about the manpower and number of squads, which can differ quite a lot, even though one marshal always, or as a standard, has 8 squads. They can differ through skills, through tradition, through some extra troops that we'll just talk about in a couple of moments. Oh, by the way, hi, Sh0ppo. How's it going, man?
Lulu. One thing you
And
missed about the levies, because it wasn't actually written, I think, in the summary here, but you can see it on the picture here that apparently the levies help boost or foster more defense in castles. So
which one?
you want to float like a high number of levies for defense.
The first one, the first picture.
Yeah. It reads, levies can also generate defending squads during settlement battles, in addition to increasing the manpower of the province governor's army.
Yeah, yeah, true.
So
Um,
we don't exactly know how that works, but it's written there. So
they talked a little bit about it, but we're gonna step into it in just a few seconds. So another topic that was addressed was food and supplies.
yes.
So we know it from an old dev diary. Food is very important in order to recruit troops and to keep your troops, because if they starve, they may go rogue, turn into rebels, and turn against you. And there is also supplies, something that you need for the troops when they're on the road, like campaigning, doing sieges and stuff. And if you do not have any supplies for an army, which is, it depends on the very army, but food is kingdom wide. So if you don't have supplies, the morale is very low. They have less fighting power, and you can't start sieges anymore. What you can do about it, what they told us is,
Also, speed and
know it.
stamina apparently.
Yeah, we also know it from the first Knights of Honor. You can just send them to one of your hometowns, resupply them. You can go pillaging. And one thing that is new, the merchant has the ability to supply your army. I don't know how it works in detail. Could be like trade routes that you just send them over to the army and it takes some time, depending on how far the army is. But
Oh,
about the additional troops that you can have. There is some unit slots besides the standard army slots. Slots where you can decide if you want to have extra troops. So there is more soldiers in the squads. You can choose to have extra supplies. It is kind of a supply card that you have there that you can equip armies with, and it's also for siege equipment. So if you played the first game, you know it. There were some slots where you could hire Leathermen or ballistas or catapults. So that's the same slots, but with different options, and it is in one of the pictures.
Yep.
As it
Just pulled it up
seems
now.
currently. Perfect. Thank you for that. It is 4 slots currently. And I think that was basically the main
5.
The main topics.
5 slots.
Is it 5?
Yeah.
No, it's not the lower one. You have to look up on
you're
the
right.
left
You're right.
side
Okay,
to
yeah. It's 4, but you get 5 options to choose from.
Yep, I made the same mistake at the first glimpse at a picture. Yeah, but that was basically the whole thing that they talked about. And now we want to go a little into detail, into speculations, and yeah, the things that happened on the forum.
Yeah.
So what's like the first question for you? What was most appreciated, the info that you got, and what was maybe something where you were like, okay, let's see how that will play out?
Sorry, are you saying like what did the devs do that people liked, or
not just a question for you. What's your opinion on the latest news?
Yeah, so in the forums, I think the big topic is having a marshal with abilities or actions that are dependent on either the supply or some sort of upkeep or a cooldown, something like this, to help create more depth in the gameplay when you're using your army and you're trying to, say, attack another army or make a siege or do a pillage or run away or try and flank something. Situations like this to bring more depth to the game. So one thing that was suggested, which I thought was pretty clever, was to attach basically the supply to your actions. So if you want to, say, initiate a siege or maybe run really fast, like do a speed boost, like a force march, then you could use up some of your supply in your current army and do that action. And that can help bring more depth into the gameplay between armies. And for me, I think that was a pretty good suggestion. Of course, one of the I mentioned on the forum myself, there can always be some problems with that. Abilities sometimes can get very spammy. Like if someone's ever played StarCraft, for example, and I don't think Knights of Honor 2 should become like a RTS where you just want to keep spamming blink or some kind of ability to beat your opponents. So I think the abilities really need to be thought out in a very strategic way, such that when you use that ability, it feels like you're using it for some tactics or some kind of advantage that is going to last a little while in time. I'm afraid that if you add abilities to like armies, that you'll get some kind of like RTS spam out of it. What do you think?
Yeah, I can't really see that in Knights of Honor. I mean, it could be that in the background there is some calculations running that sieges need more food than just battles do, which would make sense, I think. But yeah, I have mixed feeling about this action kind of thing.
Like I
mean,
think it can the game can play. Sorry, you go.
And I know that there is skills that your cavalry can push very fast into the enemy. So you have these kind of abilities. And I remember from the first Knights of Honor, you could force your soldiers to run, but they could only do it for a few meters, and then they were out of stamina. So that could be, I mean, that's okay. But if you go like you said, if you go into a StarCraft kind of thing or into very in depth RTS, no front
I just want to
on
clarify.
RTS.
I
I
don't
like
mean these
RTS, but I
abilities
don't
for army specific units. I mean them just for the
in general.
army general. Yeah, when you're on the grand battle map like this. So like you could select your army and then click like a force march or a retreat.
But I don't
You
have to
know,
be in the battle.
no,
Just okay. I don't know. I
it
mean,
would be for your
it's just
army, like
yeah.
to
It's just if you can't see basically what's happening on the battlefield and you're out of the battle, it's just dice rolling, I guess.
yeah.
I don't know. I personally I don't need it. I wouldn't miss it if it wasn't in the game.
Yeah. So I was thinking because Knights of Honor 1, basically the way you would outbeat another person if you were to play a person on a grand strategy map would be to out economy them, because the armies matchups are kind of the same. So the strategy becomes, okay, how can I squeeze out more money here or carve out some more territory here so that I can be stronger in the future, or economics and politics. Uh, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Uh, but and that might be the how do I say this, the end product that we get with Knights of Honor 2, where the armies don't really have anything particularly special that makes it so you feel like you need to move your army in strategic ways. You just take your army, you shove it over there, and it attacks and kills, and you win or lose based on your opponent's like overall political and economic strength. Um, I could see that, and I would be fine with that. But I think what a lot of people in the forums were wanting is to have a bit more flavor to the game, where it's not just that you can have a really strong economy in politics backing your army. Uh, let's say you didn't have a strong economy and political advantage over your opponent, but you were able to like micro the abilities a little bit of your army to eke out a bit of an advantage for your army.
Mhm.
In a sense, it's like a commander skill in a way, or a general skill, and you're the general of the army.
Yeah.
And one way to express that is to give these armies that we control some ability system of some sort.
And how would you do it? Would you apply like Super Fuzzy is currently asking or suggesting? Would you apply different kind of costs to it? Like one thing costs stamina, the other thing costs I don't know
Yeah, so
food.
what is suggested in the forum right here is, like, for example, if you were to lay siege, it would cost a certain number of supplies. If you were to do a double march, so you like boost the speed of your army, it would also cost you a certain amount of supplies. And then you might have a consequence after the double march that your army is exhausted. And then you could also have something like a fierce assault, which would cost supplies, but would give your army a temporary attack bonus. And then fortify camp, obviously same kind of shenanigans. You cost supplies, but then you have a huge defense bonus. But then also your, say your movement is like really slow, or maybe you have no movement.
No, no.
So all these kind of actions with cost of supplies and with kind of the effects that they give a bit more depth into how you would manage your army on the field.
Yeah, but I would only I could imagine this if they have a clever system and this Knights of Honor way to make it easy to access and easy to use, easy to get.
Yeah.
But only within real-time battles, not outside.
No,
Because I
okay, so you don't
think it's
like
just test thrown.
to apply to generals.
But like, when you talked about it, I took some thought on it, and I could imagine that would be okay. Would be fun, I guess. I mean, it would add for let's think if you think more strategically. if the thing is, Knights of Honor is between Crusader Kings and Total War, so this could be interesting for Total War players, right? If you get more into the real time battle, so it could be interesting, could be a smart move.
I think specifically what it does is it gives a safe if you were two players and you had everything being equal, but one person paid more attention to his army, that person would come out
Wins.
ahead
Yeah. Yeah.
because he could, trigger these abilities in a favorable manner
Yeah.
and, break the other person's army. Yeah,
Okay.
I like the idea, but it does need to be implemented properly, and I could see it going wrong in a lot of ways. For example, they could just start adding a ton of abilities, right? They could just go off the rails with it, be like, yeah, we'll put in 10 abilities, and nobody's going to take their army and use all 10 abilities, for every specific circumstance, and and also they can make the abilities kind of be plain and boring and not have bring anything unique to the gameplay, uh, or anything very different to how you would manage the army. So if an ability is just like move double fast, and then you have another ability that's move one time fast or three times fast, well, they're both kind of the same ability, and they overlap a bit too much, and that's kind of boring.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot to be said here, I think.
Yeah, but I got your point. So one thing when reading through the DevDiary I stumbled across was, I think it was related to to the levies. They were talking about some different numbers, and I think it was there will be some army uphold, like in general,
Yeah, army upkeep.
where you need the levies, the upkeep, the upkeep where you need the levies for. So that is something that applies all the time, as I figured it, like in the end. And
From what I
then there
understand,
is,
there's gold upkeep, there's
yeah,
kingdom food upkeep.
just a second,
Okay,
just
sorry.
a second. That's not the point I'm addressing.
Sorry.
They were talking about the upkeep, the upkeep, and they were talking about, I think it was supply consumption. So they didn't explain it, but in order how I figured it, upkeep is something that addresses like all the time once you have the army recruited or
Yep.
the units recruited, and supplies is something, and supply consumption is something when the army is on the road. Like, yeah, that's like two different kind of numbers. But then I realized, okay, so, levies is new, but up supplies basically the same thing like from Knights of Honor 1. If you're on the road, army needs supplies. Totally makes sense.
Yeah. No, I like the overall implementation, that there should be some kind of supplies. There's also should be
Yeah.
probably an upkeep.
Yeah, I like the idea very much.
One of my we can address kind of one of my questions because I thought it was actually interesting. One suggestion I made was maybe when you wipe out another army like completely, you get their supply. So if you take a battle in open terrain and there's no survivors from the opposing army after the battle, then you get whatever supply was on that army. Well, how do you feel about that?
Let me just read through the questions.
It's my question.
Yeah, I just have to read it. The wiping out the enemy. I think I like the idea. It would make sense. Like if let's say the army that you wipe out has 50% of the supplies, and then you plunder it and you get, like, I don't know, not all of it, but 2/3, because the rest gets destroyed, gets lost, whatever. Would make sense.
I think it's a nice like carrot for people to try and like army wipe rather than not army wipe, because if you army wiped and then you got the supply that was on them, that would help sustain your army more. So in a way,
Yeah.
it also encourages you to take field battles maybe a bit more. Maybe you need some supply, and
And it is the thing in Knights of 101 that if you wanted to, I liked to go pillaging, and at some point you had to because your army was starving. And then if you conquered the city and the province, then it was, oh damn, like the whole province is burned and I have to wait until it recovers. So that was, it didn't feel good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. I never thought about that, because if you pillage, one of the ways you can get supply, right, is pillage. And if you pillage the
Yeah.
whole countryside in an enemy territory,
And then
then
conquer it.
yeah, and then or
That's
don't take a castle, or you just pillage all the villages where you can get supply. Now you can no
Yeah.
longer get supply. There's no other way to sustain your army in that territory other than capturing the castle. But what if for some reason you didn't want to capture the castle, but you still wanted your army in that territory? Then the only way to sustain that would be to go back to yours or come back, or what I suggest here, like I mentioned, where you implement a feature where a stack wipe results of the enemy army results in you getting their supply.
But I really like that question. When I read through it, I was like, damn, I could have thought of the same thing. That was a clever move.
Yeah, it's always the worst when you read someone's questions or statements on the forum.
That's good. That shows that you had a good idea. Oh, and by the way, Sh0ppo, thank you for your follow. Welcome to the castle.
Yes. Also, I have the picture up right now. They're just showing a small image of Vikings. You can't quite. It's not good enough resolution to really see what the Vikings look like, but I mean that's kind of cool. Always like to see the Viking.
Do you like the pictures? The pictures of the troops?
Like I said, I'm not a fan of the way the game looks visually. It like the 3D animation is not my but the interfacing I like again. We've talked about this before.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the pictures are okay. Not bad, but not extraordinary.
The wallpaper art, though, those are all pretty solid. I can't complain.
The wallpapers, yeah. I wish they were in a larger resolution.
Yeah. They might have it, and maybe we can bug them to ask for.
We have to ask if they could make some kind of a fan package. I know there's some other development studios do it and just hand out for the fans for us. Some little artworks we can use for different screen resolutions as wallpapers and stuff. Pretty cool. Is there anything else you want to talk about? Or chat, if you do have any questions, please feel very welcome to ask them. Or if you want to talk about how you feel about different things, we would very much love you to join into the discussion if you want to.
One of the small, I think, easy fixes that the devs can implement that was mentioned on the forum here is that the army slot that you can fill, instead of filling it with a trebuchet or a catapult, apparently, historically speaking, siege equipment would never really follow an army. It'd be too cumbersome to carry your own siege equipment. Most siege equipment was always built on spot or on camp. So instead of having that as a slot, maybe have something like engineers. So to build siege equipment in your siege, you have a slot for engineers. So just change out catapult, put engineers instead, and then have some maybe deeper functionality that you can select.
You know, I can really picture if we are going to ask this on next Thursday. The stream is on next Thursday. If we ask the dev why, if they could do it or why they didn't do it, they will tell us. Okay, we have history and we have fun, and then we always decide on fun because it is more fun to just have the siege equipment with the army and then go
they
in
have said
and start
at the beginning
raiding.
That the outlook was to merge both history and fun in a in a fair manner.
But to be honest, it would, if you have engineers and you want to attack a castle, it would have some cooldown for the army to build the siege equipment, and it just makes the game longer.
Well, I
I
think
mean, it
the
wouldn't be too
engineers
bad.
would
I
basically just
think
function
it's
as the catapult, but you just instead of putting the catapult icon, you just put engineer icon, and then you assume the engineers build something when they arrive at the castle, and
and okay. How would you do it? Would you just at the start of the siege that you have to decide which
Sh0ppo,
siege unit they
I'm
will
not trying
build?
to re-engineer the game here. I'm literally just saying take the icon of the trebuchet and just change it to an engineer.
Yeah, but I want some mechanics. If they do it, I want some
You want some
mechanics.
follow-up mechanics, okay?
Yeah,
I mean that's fair, but
and then on what is decisive for what you can build? If there is forest around, if you have
oh, that'd be
food
kind of cool.
supply,
Yeah.
because it takes time and power to build such machinery.
Hmm.
That's a whole nother idea.
Yeah. You can just keep adding them, right? And never stops.
Yeah,
We got
yeah.
to be careful with how many ideas we give the devs because we do want the game to come out eventually. And
I mean, they told us the feature ready, so
yeah. And
I think they should have an answer for almost everything that we suggest. And they
I'm
say,
sure
no,
they
we didn't
do.
do that because,
Yeah.
and we didn't do that because.
I think as well the devs because they've tooted the modding quite a lot that all these small features that maybe people will ask or want or desire, they can be like, just do it yourself through the mods when we release the game.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
maybe things like changing icons or naming schemes of stuff, like those are very small, minor stuff that we can.
That would be clever. That would be clever. Just no, we didn't do that because we want you to do it in the mods. Easy mode.
Yeah,
Okay, super Pfirsich. Take care. Thanks for tuning in and have fun watching the video on demand. Then
I think
it's nice having you.
we'll wrap it up anyways.
Just one little thing. I just realized about the levies again. You can go over. It is not a hard cap that you have on the levies. You can have more troops than your levies would suggest. And that is kind of the tactical decisions that you have to make because you can upkeep it for some time, but not for too long. And then, yeah, well, if your army has no food, then things can go bad. But you can.
Sorry, you
I think it makes
misspoke. You
sense. You
said to
can.
go over your levies, which I think you meant to go under your food, kingdom food.
It's the levies. It's in the first
The levies.
mhm. It's a number. It's the first paragraph or the second paragraph. A kingdom with levies can mobilize or can quickly mobilize and prepare for war. And then with high production levies can sustain the size of its army for longer conflicts. That's the beginning. And then so at some point later they talk about that.
I think
Let
you're
me just have a look
mixing the two
somewhere.
concepts up.
You sure it's food? I'm pretty sure it's
I'm 100% at
there is
least
kingdom food.
the kingdom food.
Yeah, it is kingdom
Yeah.
food. It is. Yeah, if you stop over there, it is right after the two pictures that are close to each other. Yeah, it is kingdom food. Yeah, you're right. Okay, yeah. Okay, so again, levies is for recruiting. If you want to check out the start of the video, it's just for recruiting. If you don't have any levies, you can't recruit. But if you have enough food and enough levies, you can still recruit, and you can even recruit
Yeah, the way I see
higher
food that they
food
implemented
consumption.
in this is it's just like a relations kind of thing. So you can have positive or negative relations. It doesn't end the game or any manner, but you get positive and negative effects. So having positive food
Yeah,
gives you good stuff. Having negative food gives you bad stuff.
yeah.
but it doesn't break your ability to do things. Okay.
I think that was it. Yeah, we talked about the squad sizes. Yeah, just for a little heads up, the dev stream will be on Thursday, the 19th of May. Oh, that is not next week.
That's 2
That
weeks,
is
I
even the
believe, right?
week after.
Yep.
Yeah. Holy smokes. Okay.
Yeah, the reason they're not having it this week, reportedly, is like you mentioned, they're doing some sort of live orchestra recording.
For
So,
the game soundtrack.
yeah, that's exciting.
Pretty cool stuff. Pretty cool stuff.
Maybe they'll give us some taste of that on the next diary.
I hope so. I suggested it on the Discord that I should do some. I don't know. I would just be happy to see some smartphone videos somewhere on Twitter or
Yeah.
just a few impressions. That's all we ask.
Yeah. Okay. May the sun always shine on all of you, and hopefully we'll see you guys to the next video.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in, and see you on the dev stream, hopefully, and on our next video. Take care and let the sun always shine on you.
Bye.